Have you ever wondered what it truly feels like to lose control over your own life? To wake up one day and realize that even the simplest decisions, when to eat, when to take a walk, or even when to use the restroom, are no longer yours to make. For millions of older adults, this isn't just a passing thought, it's their daily reality. The day Clara stepped into the nursing home, she had no idea that her golden years would feel more like a slow, painful surrender rather than a time of comfort and peace. She thought she was making a responsible choice, ensuring she would be well cared for. But instead, she found herself trapped in a system that took away more than just her physical independence. It stripped her of her dignity, her self-worth, and her will to live. If you think a nursing home is just a place where older adults receive care, you need to hear Clara's story. In this video, we'll uncover the painful truths that many seniors face, the hidden costs, the emotional toll, the loneliness that eats away at the soul, and the silent struggles that many families don't realize until it's too late. And most importantly, we'll explore the crucial steps you must take to avoid falling into the same trap. Because the worst mistake you can make isn't just choosing the wrong place, it's failing to prepare for what lies ahead. Stay with me until the end, because what you learn today might not just change your perspective, it might change your future. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I encourage you to click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on today's topic. If you enjoy the content, please comment 1 below. If it doesn't resonate with you, leave a 0. Your feedback is crucial as it helps me create better videos that align with your interests. Now, let's get started. The heartbreaking reality of losing independence. The day Clara stepped into the nursing home, she had no idea just how drastically her life was about to change. She had imagined a quiet, comfortable place where she could continue to enjoy her golden years, perhaps even find companionship among people her age. But the stark reality that awaited her was something she had never prepared for, a reality that shook her to her core. Gone were the simple joys of waking up when she pleased, brewing her own morning coffee, or taking an afternoon stroll whenever the mood struck her. Instead, she found herself trapped in a rigid schedule dictated by staff members, waiting for permission to do things she had once taken for granted. The first time she had to press a button just to be escorted to the restroom, a deep, unsettling feeling settled in her chest. She wasn't just losing convenience, she was losing control over her own life. At first, she tried to brush off the discomfort, telling herself that it was just an adjustment period. But as days turned into weeks, the weight of her new reality became unbearable. "I felt like a child again," Clara admitted, her voice heavy with emotion. "People told me when to eat, when to bathe, when to sleep. It was as if I had been stripped of my dignity, my autonomy, everything that made me me." This profound loss of independence didn't just frustrate her, it gnawed at her self-worth, chipping away at the confidence she had spent a lifetime building. The vibrant, self-sufficient woman she once was had been reduced to someone who constantly had to ask for permission. With each passing day, a deep loneliness crept into her heart, leaving her feeling invisible, forgotten, and, perhaps worst of all, powerless. The painful toll on her body and spirit. But the emotional toll was only part of the struggle. Clara soon began to notice troubling changes in her body as well. Back when she lived on her own, she had been active, walking through her neighborhood, stopping at her favorite bakery, chatting with familiar faces along the way. She had always loved the feeling of movement, the gentle stretch of her muscles, the rhythmic sound of her footsteps on the pavement. But in the nursing home, everything was different. If she wanted to go outside, she had to ask. If she wanted to stretch her legs, she had to wait for someone to assist her. More often than not, she simply stayed in her room, staring at the same four walls, feeling her body grow weaker by the day. "I wasn't moving like I used to," she said, shaking her head. "I felt sluggish, tired, old. My body ached in ways it never did before. I could feel myself deteriorating, not just physically, but mentally too." Her muscles, once strong and capable, began to lose their tone. The energy that had once fueled her daily routines now seemed to drain away. And with each passing day, a sense of helplessness settled deeper into her bones. A harsh but necessary wake-up call. Clara never expected that losing her independence would affect her so profoundly. She had always thought that aging was simply about growing older, perhaps slowing down a little, but she had never realized that the true struggle came from losing control. The loss of choice, of movement, of agency. It was suffocating. It was terrifying. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. But amidst the heartbreak, Clara made a promise to herself. She would fight to hold on to whatever independence she still had. Whether it was choosing what to wear, insisting on walking instead of using a wheelchair, or simply speaking up when she disagreed with something, she refused to let herself fade into the background. Her experience served as a painful but necessary lesson, a reminder that aging wasn't just about the passing of time, but about the will to keep living on her own terms. No matter her age, she deserved to have a say in her own life. And no matter how small the choices, each one was a victory. The hidden costs of nursing home care, more than just money. Clara never imagined that stepping into a nursing home would come with such a staggering financial burden. Like many others, she assumed the costs would be straightforward, one fixed monthly payment that covered everything she needed. But reality struck hard, revealing a complicated web of hidden expenses that quickly became overwhelming. When I arrived, I thought the expenses would be simple. A set rate, paid once a month, she recalled, shaking her head. But I quickly learned that wasn't the case. Not even close. What many families don't realize is that the base rate nursing homes advertise is often just the beginning. Clara soon discovered that nearly every aspect of her care came with an extra fee. If you need help getting around, there's a charge for that, she explained. If you need medication reminders or special dietary accommodations, there's a charge for that, too. Every little thing, things I thought were standard, came with a price tag. And then there were the additional medical costs, therapy sessions, routine checkups, medication management. It seemed like every time I turned around, there was another fee being tacked onto my bill, Clara said, her voice tinged with frustration. What started as a manageable expense quickly ballooned into something my family never saw coming. Her daughter, who had initially handled all the paperwork with confidence, was stunned when the first few bills arrived. She assumed insurance would cover more of it, Clara sighed. But as she combed through the details, she realized just how little was actually covered. She was devastated. The financial strain didn't just affect Clara, it placed an immense burden on her loved ones, forcing her daughter to make gut-wrenching decisions. We had to choose between basic care and extra comfort, and it wasn't easy, Clara admitted. We had to decide, do we pay for physical therapy, or do we save that money for when I need extra help later on? It was like gambling with my well-being. Beyond the nursing home fees, there were countless other expenses that families often overlook. My daughter had to pay for my clothing, my toiletries, my personal items, even transportation just to come and visit me, Clara explained. It all added up so fast. And then, there was the emotional cost. The constant worry about finances weighed heavily on her family. Knowing that every extra service came with a price tag, they had to ask themselves impossible questions. Can we afford this? How long will her savings last? What happens when the money runs out? The true cost of nursing home care isn't just financial, Clara said softly. It's emotional. It's psychological. It's the weight of knowing that you're draining your family's resources just by existing in a place you didn't even want to end up in. The emotional and mental toll, a silent struggle. Yet, for all the financial hardship, the worst part of nursing home life wasn't the money, it was the loneliness. The isolation crept in like a slow-moving storm, settling into Clara's bones before she even realized what was happening. You don't understand true loneliness until you're sitting in a small, unfamiliar room, staring at the ceiling, day after day, with no one to talk to, she confessed. The silence becomes deafening. Her voice trembled as she recalled those first few months. She had convinced herself that she would adapt quickly, that she would find companionship among the other residents. But it wasn't that simple. I thought I'd make friends, she admitted. I pictured myself chatting in the common areas, playing games, maybe even finding a group to take walks with. But most people here have their own struggles. They're tired. They're sick. Some don't even remember their own names. The reality hit her like a wave. She wasn't just physically separated from her family. She was mentally and emotionally disconnected from everyone. Some days, I felt completely invisible, she whispered. The staff was kind, sure, but they were busy. Their job was to care for us, not to connect with us. And the other residents, most of them were dealing with their own pain, their own grief, their own loneliness. Over time, Clara felt herself fading, disappearing. The days blurred together in a monotonous cycle of scheduled meals, mandatory rest times, and occasional visits that never lasted long enough. Without meaningful conversations or real relationships, it became harder to stay motivated. I started to feel like I was disappearing, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Like I was becoming less of a person. Just another old woman in another bed in another nursing home. And that was terrifying. The loneliness wasn't just an emotional ache, it had physical consequences. She found herself feeling weaker, moving less, losing interest in the things she once loved. The lack of intellectual and emotional stimulation drained her spirit. The once vibrant woman who had spent her days reading, walking, and enjoying life was slipping into a state of emotional numbness. You can be surrounded by people and still feel completely alone, Clara said with a hollow chuckle. Being in a nursing home doesn't just take away your freedom, it strips you of your sense of purpose, of your connection to the world. It makes you question if anyone even remembers who you used to be. The mental and emotional consequences of this isolation were profound. The sadness deepened into anxiety. The boredom turned into hopelessness. She felt herself aging faster, not just in body, but in mind and soul. Before she had come here, she had imagined nursing homes as places of care, warmth, and security. But now, she realized that they could also be places of quiet suffering, where people were slowly forgotten. If there's one thing I want others to know before making this decision, Clara said, her eyes glistening with emotion, it's that you need to prepare for more than just the financial cost. You need to prepare for the loneliness, the isolation, the feeling of being cut off from everything that makes life worth living. Because, in the end, the true cost of a nursing home isn't just measured in dollars. It's measured in the pieces of yourself that you lose along the way. The importance of researching nursing homes. Clara learned an important lesson. You can't choose a nursing home based on appearance or reputation alone. I made the mistake of thinking all nursing homes were the same, she recalls. I told myself that as long as it was clean and well maintained, that was enough. But there's so much more to consider. She emphasizes the importance of doing thorough research before making such a big decision. You have to go beyond brochures and websites, she says. What looks nice on paper doesn't always reflect what life inside is really like. Clara advises visiting facilities at different times of the day to get a true sense of the environment. It's easy to be impressed when everything looks perfect during peak hours, she warns. But what about late at night or on weekends when resources are stretched thin? She encourages speaking to staff, residents, and their families to get honest feedback about the quality of care. Ask about the staff-to-resident ratio, she says. A good facility will have enough qualified staff to meet everyone's needs. You don't want to be in a place where overworked staff can't provide the care you need. Clara also advises paying attention to small details. Are the staff patient and kind, or do they seem rushed and indifferent, she asks. Is there a sense of community, or are people just waiting for time to pass? The environment plays a major role. You want a place that feels warm and welcoming, not cold and institutional, she says. She recommends looking for facilities that offer social activities and opportunities to engage with others. You should never feel like you're just waiting for life to end, she says. The crisis of understaffing in nursing homes. One of the most concerning things Clara encountered in the nursing home was the chronic shortage of caregivers. "I didn't expect this," she admits, shaking her head. "The staff always did their best, but there simply weren't enough of them." Across the country, nursing homes are facing a major staffing crisis, and it significantly impacts the quality of care residents receive. "There were days when there just weren't enough people to help everyone," Clara recalls. "I remember waiting for hours just to get assistance getting out of bed or going to the bathroom. Being forced to wait made her feel like she wasn't a priority, just another name on a long list. The staff were always overworked," she says. "They couldn't always give each resident the attention they truly needed. This shortage had serious consequences." Clara vividly remembers one particularly difficult day when she didn't receive help in time, tried to get around on her own, and ended up injuring herself. "It wasn't anyone's fault. They were just too busy," she says. But that's exactly the problem. The lack of staff isn't just an inconvenience. It can lead to accidents and declining health. Clara's experience isn't unique. Across the nation, healthcare facilities struggle with staffing shortages, affecting the level of care residents receive. Residents have to wait longer for help, their physical and emotional needs aren't always met, and caregivers are so overwhelmed that they suffer from burnout, she explains. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Without enough staff, the entire system starts to break down. And when that happens, she warns, it's the residents who suffer the most. For Clara, this was one of the hardest aspects of nursing home life. She wants others to be aware of this issue before making such a life-changing decision. The lack of personalized care. Another major challenge Clara faced was realizing just how impersonal nursing home care could be. There were so many residents, she says, her voice softening. I felt like I was just a number on a list. She quickly learned that, due to the overwhelming number of residents, getting truly individualized care was nearly impossible. Instead of tailoring care to my specific needs, everything followed a rigid schedule, she explains. It wasn't about what I needed, it was about what the facility could manage. There were days when she simply needed small accommodations, like help organizing her medications or getting a meal prepared a certain way. But those requests weren't always a priority, Clara says. Even though the staff did their best, I often felt like I was being treated the same as everyone else. She wasn't alone. Many residents received care that didn't take their personal preferences or health concerns into account. Over time, this lack of attention to individual needs began to affect Clara's physical and emotional well-being. I started feeling like no one was really listening to me, she confesses. I knew my body better than anyone, but when I couldn't get the care I needed, I just felt worse. It wasn't just about physical health. It was about dignity. Everyone deserves to feel important, Clara says. When you're in a nursing home, you don't want to feel like just another patient. You want to feel like a person. Without personalized attention, it's easy for residents to slip through the cracks. For Clara, this realization was painful, and she urges anyone considering a nursing home to research whether the facility truly provides individualized care. Exploring alternatives to nursing homes. Determined to find a better solution, Clara began looking for options that would allow her to receive the care she needed while still maintaining her independence. I didn't want to feel trapped, she explains. I wanted to take back control and have a say in my own life. One of the first alternatives she considered was home care. I realized I could hire someone to come to my house and help me, she says. That changed everything. With home care, Clara could remain in a familiar environment, surrounded by her belongings, while still receiving assistance with daily tasks. It was comforting to know someone would be there to help me cook, bathe, and move around, she says. But the best part, I could still make my own decisions. She loved that she could go to the park when she wanted, invite friends over, or take a nap without anyone dictating her schedule. In addition to home care, Clara also explored senior living communities. I found a great place where I could have my own apartment, but still access help when I needed it, she explains. These communities provided opportunities for social interaction, entertainment, and assistance, without making residents feel like they had lost their independence. It didn't feel like a nursing home, Clara says. It felt like a real community. Being part of a senior living community allowed Clara to maintain a more active lifestyle. She could join exercise programs, attend group activities, and still have access to medical care when needed. This mix of freedom and support was exactly what I was looking for, she says. Before choosing a nursing home, Clara urges others to explore alternatives. Whether it's home care, a senior community, or something else, there are ways to get the help you need without giving up your independence, she explains. She firmly believes that finding the right solution is key to maintaining quality of life. You don't have to settle for a choice that limits your happiness, Clara says. There are options that can provide both care and dignity. Clara's story is not just a cautionary tale, it's a wake-up call for all of us. Losing independence is one of the most difficult realities of aging, and it's something many people don't fully understand until they or their loved ones experience it firsthand. So now, I want to hear from you. What have you learned from this video? What is one thing you will take away and put into practice in your own life? Whether it's planning ahead, researching care options more thoroughly, or having honest conversations with your family about the future. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and your insights could help someone else who is facing this tough decision. If you found this video valuable, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue creating content that matters, helping older adults and their families navigate life's most important challenges. Thank you for watching, and remember, independence is something worth fighting for. Stay informed, stay prepared, and most importantly, live your life on your own terms. See you in the next video.